Well, thank you very much. It's very nice to be here at Elon University. I'd like to thank all those students who had an opportunity to meet with me throughout the day and the classes that I met with. I really appreciate that. I'd like to thank Janice and Carol and Dean Dillashaw for inviting me and putting this all together and helping arrange it, and the leadership team here. It truly is an honor to be here tonight and to speak to all of you, the future leaders, the future teachers, and the future people of America. My story is a really important story for people to understand and for people to hear. You see, people didn't believe in me. People didn't give me a chance. And all that did was give me the power to eventually be the first class teacher of the year in the state of Georgia. You see, I grew up with Tourette syndrome. Tourette syndrome is a neurological disorder which causes me to make noises and tics that I can't control. Different tics happen to different people, but it is hereditary. It's passed down generation after generation after generation, and it's just in my blood. Some people with Tourette's might just blink their eyes lightly. Some people might clear their throat. Some people might make barking noises like I do, or a whop sound or a dross sound or whatever you want to call it. Some people twitch their neck. Some people twitch their arms. And some people who have Tourette syndrome, actually say bad words. It's called corpolalia. But the thing about Tourette syndrome that people need to know is that it comes and it goes. It waxes and it wanes. And what's important is that the people who have Tourette syndrome have many, many, many more abilities than just what you might see on the outside. And it's important for you to get to know them on the inside. See, I first learned that I had Tourette syndrome when I was going into 4th grade. I was at camp one summer, and I started making this froggy noise. And the noise kept coming out, and every time it would come out, the different kids in my cabin would start joining along and calling me the Froggy Man. And by the end of that camp session, I won the Froggy Award. And I was so proud. I was so excited that I won this Froggy Award. But see, the thing was that I was different somehow. And I really realized it when we went back to school in the fall. And all of a sudden, that froggy noise, that froggy voice, it didn't stop. It kept happening in my classroom. And it started bothering the teachers, and it started bothering the other students. And at home, my mom, my brother, they didn't exactly know what was going on. And then it really hit home in 5th grade. In 5th grade, I was minding my own business in my seat, and my teacher came up to me and said, "Brad, you need to stop making those noises. As a matter of fact, I want you to get up in front of the class and apologize to everybody for making all those noises that you're making in this class." So I got up out of my seat. I walked to the front of the class, and I apologized. I said, "I'm sorry for making all those noises." And I went to sit down. And as I was sitting down, she said, "You tell them it won't happen again." So I went back up there, and I said, "It won't happen again." And then I sat down, and I started making those noises. It was really at that time that I realized that I was different. There was something different about me that made me more different than any other student in that class. My mom tried to be an advocate for me. She tried to educate all these teachers about Tourette syndrome, but they didn't listen. And that made life hard for me for both the teachers and from the students. And then we all went to middle school. In middle school, if you think about it, if you're not the most popular, if you're not good looking, pretty smart, then you're the dork or you're the geek. Or in my case, I was the kid in the corner because that's where all the students always saw me. You see, my math teacher in 7th grade, he always thought that I was doing the hiccups on purpose. The hiccups on purpose. He knew I had Tourette syndrome, but despite knowing that, he still sent me to timeout across the hall almost every other day because I was doing the hiccups on purpose. So I went over to that math class and sat in the back of the room, and I sat in the corner and faced the back white wall. And I sat there while the other kids learned math. And for me, I learned math backwards. And as I was talking about earlier, that's probably why I'm so bad at math today. And then, social life, friends. Are you kidding me? I didn't have any friends. I had no friends. I mean, who wanted to be friends with the kid that was making noises all day? They just wanted to make fun of me. They saw the teachers didn't appreciate what I was doing, so why should they? I remember lunchtime. Lunchtime, I would eat lunch at my table all by myself. And as I ate at that table and minded my own business, the mean kids would parade around me and mocked the very noises that I was making. Did I want to beat them up? Yeah. I really wanted to beat them up. But something deep down told me that that's not what you do. That's not what good students do. So I guess you could say I took it like a man. I grew thicker skin from it. And I just dealt with it. Middle school was very, very hard for me because I was so different. Nobody accepted me for who I was. Until one day. One day, a very special educator came up to me, and that educator was my principal, and he said, "Brad, what if we educate the entire student population at our school about Tourette syndrome?" I thought, what a great idea. Let's educate them about Tourette syndrome. I mean, what's the worst thing that could have happened to me? I was going to have no friends? Well, I already didn't have any friends. Nobody wanted to be my friend anyway, so let's go for it. Let's try it out. And so we got up in front of the entire student population, and together, the two of us educated the entire student population about Tourette syndrome. We told them Tourette syndrome is a neurological disorder which causes me to make noises and tics I can't control. We told them it wasn't contagious, and we told them that it comes and it goes. We told them some of the tics that I may do. And at the very end, I told them that I am open and I'm honest, and if you ever have a question, just come up and ask me. Come up and ask me. And as I sat down after giving that speech, everybody in the audience started applauding for me. They started clapping for me because I had Tourette syndrome. This was the first time in my life that I actually had been positively reinforced for having Tourette's. And wow, what a feeling that was. You see, the students that were out there, they appreciated it. My whole life, they didn't understand why I was making those noises, but on that day, they were educated about Tourette syndrome. You see, the biggest problem with having Tourette syndrome is ignorance. It's the people that don't know about Tourette's or the people who don't want to know. And on that day, they were educated. And they were appreciative of the fact that I was open and I was honest, and I taught them about what Tourette syndrome was. And they were there, and they were able to see me for more than who I was on the outside, but for who I was on the inside. And then life got better. All those kids moved up to high school with me. And I started joining different organizations. I got active in yearbook, and I started playing some sports and racquetball. I got involved in different community service events. And I joined a youth group. And you see, the school that I was in had nearly 2,000 students. 2,000 students. I was a little bitty fish in a big pond. And I was going to have trouble succeeding there. But by me joining these individual organizations and these different youth groups, the people got to know me for who I was. They got to see that I had abilities beyond just making noises all day. You see, when I joined these organizations and they got to know me, then they were friends with me in the hallway. I actually started to have friends. When I was in the classroom, I was able to learn. Why was I able to learn? Because I wasn't worried about the next time that my teacher was going to kick me out of class and give me a timeout because they thought I was doing the hiccups on purpose. I wasn't worried about the kid that was going to flick me in my ear and knock me upside the head to try to actually shut me up. There weren't kids actually trying to beat me up to get me to stop making these noises. I was able to be myself. And before each class that I went to my freshman year, I educated them about Tourette's. And I continue my sophomore, my junior, and even my senior year. If I could educate one new person every single class, then mission accomplished. People got to know me for who I was. And they weren't so much focused on me making these noises and these funny faces. It was a nice feeling. And as I was involved in these organizations, I started taking on more leadership roles. And people started to see that I could be successful.